Hi, and very warm welcome today to today's talk, which is all about the ins and outs of a joyful belly. But before I start my talk, I want to briefly introduce myself. My name is Sabine Horner, and I'm one of the nutritionists at Community Health Works, a charity that has been tasked to look after the physical well-being of Stormwater customers and staff. So, as you can see, I'm a fully qualified functional nutritionist, which means that I look at the whole body and not just one finger or one system in the body like the heart. But I usually, when I work with clients, I have a look at the whole medical history, daily routine, the food intake, how much water somebody is drinking or tea, and also look at the medication, any food drug interactions, and also supplements that somebody is taking or would need to be taking. So it's I usually take a very comprehensive picture of somebody's health issues. I'm also a health coach, so I help people make changes to their diet and lifestyle that are appropriate for their life circumstances, that fit in with their diet, their daily routine, and not unrealistic. And I'm also a yoga therapist. It means that I can also include some yoga postures if necessary. There's some specific ones that are good for the thyroid, for example, or I can recommend some specific meditations or breathing exercises, for example, when somebody has got difficulty sleeping or has got a lot of stress going on in their lives. So today's topic is the ins and outs of a joyful belly, and about simple nutrition and lifestyle tips that can help improve your digestion. As you grow older, our digestive system needs more and more support. So what am I going to talk about? First of all, the main functions of our digestive system, so that we're clear about that. The importance of a healthy and happy gut, signs of good digestion, and the three main causes of poor digestion, simple ways in which you can improve your digestion and also your poop, and then a special word on acid reflux, low stomach acid, and PPIs, which are proton pump inhibitors, a very common over-the-counter medication, but also something that your GP may prescribe in certain conditions. So our digestive system starts in the mouth, as you can see here, and ends with the anus, and everything in between is called the digestive system. And it has three main functions: to break down the food we eat into absorbable bits, because we just need the building blocks for energy, growth, and repair. Then another function is to eliminate waste products and toxins, very important function, and 70% of our immune system is also in the gut, because we share our gut with trillions of microbes, and they are part of our immune system, especially the beneficial ones, because we have got beneficial and harmful microbes in our gut. So harmful ones would be harmful bacteria, viruses, parasites, yeasts, and fungi. And looking at the number of microbes in comparison to our own genes, we can see that we are hugely outnumbered. And so it's super important to keep our beneficial bacteria happy, And I will tell you how you can do this quite easily in a bit. And by looking after our beneficial gut bacteria well, we can make sure that everything in the gut is in balance and that our gut is functioning well and healthy. And why is that important? Well, when we digest our food well, that gives us the energy we need to digest actually the next meal, but also use the remaining 40% for other things. We also want to prevent digestive issues such as bloating, gas, and acid reflux, for example, or constipation. We want to keep our weight as stable as possible. We don't want to put on weight. We also don't want to lose weight too much. And it's also important for our mental health. Actually, 90% of serotonin, the happy hormone, is made by our beneficial gut bacteria. So it's very important to keep them happy, and they will make sure that we are happy. A very direct link. And our skin, is also better when our digestive system functions better and is less overwhelmed with waste products and toxins. And signs that your digestive system might not be working as well as it should are, as I mentioned before, some digestive issues, bloating, belching, a lot of flatulence, not just a little bit, but a lot, diarrhea, constipation, hemorrhoids, undigested food in the stool, floating or pale stools is a very important sign of poor digestion, pain in the abdomen, and cramping. And indirect symptoms are when the problems are no longer confined to our digestive system, but have moved into the blood, like toxins or undigested food, and also bacteria and other microbes can move into the bloodstream when our gut barrier is not fully intact anymore, and that can cause fatigue, brain fog, insomnia, skin problems, as I mentioned before, headaches, joint pain, also autoimmune conditions and weight problems. So it's really important to look after our digestive system and our gut as well as we can. So if our digestion is not working properly, we are not absorbing the nutrients. So we get a lot of nutrient deficiencies, which are one of the root problems of many health issues. Now, what causes poor digestion? Now, we need three things for a strong good digestion, and that's lots of blood, lots of fluids, and lots of energy. Now, when we have lack of blood, that can be caused by stress, for example, that diverts blood away from the stomach, from the digestive system into the limbs and into the heart and the liver to run away from the, in ancient times, saber-toothed tiger. Now, we don't have a saber-toothed tiger anymore, but our nervous system hasn't adapted really to modern day living. And so stress is still perceived as a threat. When we've got lots of tension, for example, when we are very anxious and worried, that can cause blood constriction in the stomach, but also when we eat a lot of cold, especially ice cold food and drinks like ice cream or ice cold water, especially before meal times, is not a good idea because again, that causes blood constriction. And when there's not enough blood in our stomach, the stomach can't break down the food properly, and we get undigested food going through the digestive system, causing all sorts of problems and potentially leaking into the bloodstream where it shouldn't be. And then blood deficiencies like anemia can also cause problems with digestion. So we need really strong blood with lots of oxygen. because we need energy to break down the food. So stressful life events like bereavement, a major loss, can sap our energy drastically. Lack of nutrients can cause lack of energy, and a poor diet, of course. When you eat a lot of processed foods that contain a lot of sugar and little fiber, that can make us constipated, can slow down our thyroid function, can make us really very tired, especially after a meal. And lack of fluids is a major cause of poor digestion. When we are dehydrated, we can't produce the amounts of stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and bile that we need to break down the food and absorb all the food particles. So, and electrolyte imbalance can also lead to a lack of fluids. Like when we have diarrhea constantly, that can decrease the electrolytes in our body, and magnesium is one of the very important ones, but also calcium, potassium, sodium, you may have heard of them. So electrolytes have a very important function in the body. They make sure that nutrients go into the cells, but also that wastes are moved out of the cells. So again, that ties in with energy. When we can't get rid of toxins in the cells, that saps our energy. And when we can't get nutrients into the cells for the body to use, that can cause lack of energy as well. And electrolytes are also very important for our water balance in general, and acid alkaline balance. So just bear this in mind as we go on. So poor digestion is also linked to food cravings, because poor digestion means that the body is not getting what it needs. So when cravings are the body's way of communicating to us what it needs. So one reason why we can get cravings is nutrient deficiencies, like for example magnesium. We may get cravings for chocolate because dark chocolate is rich in magnesium, for example. Or we can get cravings for meat when we are deficient in zinc or in iron, because meat is rich in those minerals. I've mentioned electrolyte imbalance before, for example, when we've got diarrhea, so we can get cravings because of that, and also thirst. There's also a craving for water is also one of the cravings. And then poor digestion can cause digestive issues, which can cause an imbalance between the good and the harmful guys in the gut. And these gut microbial imbalances can also cause cravings. For example, I mentioned serotonin before. When we have low levels of serotonin, we can also get sugar and cravings for more carbohydrates. And also when our dopamine levels are low, we can also get sweet cravings. And those are two very important neurotransmitters. Serotonin is very important for our mood, and dopamine for our motivation, for example, and focus in life. And cravings can also be due to poor food choices that we make. So if we eat a lot of processed food, ready-made meals, for example, and cakes and biscuits and so on, we don't get enough fiber, and fiber is one of the main fuels for our good gut bacteria. So they thrive when we eat a lot of fiber. So when we eat a lot of sweets and sugary stuff, we feed the harmful bacteria and yeast, fungi, parasites, and viruses. So really be aware of where your food cravings are coming from, and that food cravings are always a sign that the body is not getting what it truly needs. So if you keep going and eating sweet stuff because you're hungry all the time, maybe you're lacking fiber to keep your blood sugar levels more stable and decrease your hunger pangs. So how do we actually know that we have got good digestion? Well, one very telltale sign is what comes out at the very end, our poop. So very important to actually have a look and not just flush it down the drain. And type 4 is the ideal stool, sausage-like, smooth and soft banana-shaped stool. And with very little to no smell. So if your stool is very smelly, then there's something going on, probably a lot of toxins in your digestive system that needs to be eliminated. And you should have a bowel movement at least once a day. If you haven't got a bowel movement once a day, you are already termed or considered to be constipated. And of course, diarrhea is not a good sign of good digestion either. Now, how can we improve our digestion and our poop, the way it looks like when it comes out at the very end? First of all, good eating habits. That's the easiest way, really. I'm going to elaborate more on this in a bit. Then by eating more fiber, improving our bile flow by eating more bitter and sour foods, by drinking enough, making sure that we don't flush out electrolytes or get, that we don't lose too many electrolytes by having constant diarrhea, by making sure we have enough sources of zinc, B6 and magnesium in our diet, or supplement with it if necessary, by adding herbs and spices to every meal, moving regularly every day, even small movements like in our yoga classes would be beneficial. Squatting on the toilet instead of just sitting there with the feet on the floor, lift your feet up, and that will make it easier to eliminate. And review certain medication like PPIs, which I mentioned in the introduction. So the best 10 eating habits, what are they? Well, eat in a calm and stress-free environment is the first one. Chew well, because digestion starts in the mouth. Savor your food, that increases digestive juices and makes it easier to process the food. A regular daily meal routine, I'll elaborate on that one. Main meal at lunchtime if possible, like in former times. Our, like generations before us, they knew why they were eating their main meal at lunchtime when our digestion is at its strongest. Have an early and light dinner, not like us, having, a steak in the evening is not very conducive to good digestion. Avoid overeating, eat only when truly hungry, and I'll go into that as well. Avoid difficult to digest foods and avoid cold drinks or food, which I already mentioned, because that just constricts blood flow and makes it difficult for the stomach to process the food. Now, eat in a calm and stressful environment. So relaxing before and after a meal would be very beneficial. And the best way to do this is by taking 3 deep breaths before and after a meal. So if you've never heard of deep breathing before, you may want to try it together with me now. If you put your hands on your tummy and close your eyes for a moment and just notice where your breath is at this moment in time. Is it in your chest or is it in your tummy? And also notice the depth of your breath. Is it deep or is it shallow? And notice how your tummy is moving in what direction, when you are inhaling and when you are exhaling. So when we inhale, like now, take a deep breath in, we should relax the tummy muscles outwards and fill our belly with a lot of air and blow it up like a big balloon. And when we exhale, we pull the tummy muscles towards the spine and we let all the air come out and we make our tummy as flat as possible. And this then makes it easier to relax the tummy muscles out again on the inhale, blowing up the belly like a big balloon, filling it with air, and exhaling, pulling the tummy muscles again towards the spine. You can open your eyes again. So this, as you may have noticed, calms our nerves and makes it easier to digest our food because it actually ups our digestive enzyme production by 25%. That's a whooping 25%. And digestive enzymes are the molecules that help break down the food into smaller food particles. A regular daily meal routine with little snacking in between times also helps with good digestion. So our body loves routine, and when we eat at certain regular times each day, our body just knows when to produce adequate levels of stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and bile. So ideal meal times, I say ideal, so breakfast by 8 o'clock in the morning at the latest, lunch between 12 and 2, and dinner by 7 if possible. So, and that just keeps our body clock working, our natural body clock. And as I said, main meal at lunchtime is just the best time because our digestion is just very strong at lunchtime, and it diminishes, our digestive strength diminishes with every hour after that. So always eat difficult to digest foods before 5 o'clock. And I'll come back to difficult to digest foods. And yeah, avoid snacking in between times. I know that can be very challenging. So I always recommend to clients to check in with their emotions before they put any food in their mouth when they are, and also check in with their hunger. Are you truly hungry, or is there an emotion that's driving you to eat something? And try to find out what emotion is driving and feeding your food cravings, and what food you're craving actually. You know, there's many emotions that can make us eat too much, but also stress and anxiety, because food is just calming and soothing and comforting. So a need for comfort can be a big driver for overeating. And snacking has the adverse effect of reducing the levels of stomach acid, digestive enzymes, and bile that we need to break down the next food we eat. So if we snack a lot, there won't be enough of these digestive juices to process our next meal. And our next meal is actually, hopefully, lunch or dinner. And it will be a larger meal, which needs more of the digestive juices. And what we eat is also very important for our digestion. So there's it's very important to have a very varied diet. Varied because we don't know exactly, you know, like there's a lot of research going into what bacteria and microbes are living in our gut, but there are some bacterial strains we will never really know about, because they live in an anaerobic environment and can't survive being exposed to air and oxygen. So we just need to make our diet as varied as possible, so that we include a lot of different food with different sorts of fiber. And as I said before, fiber is the preferred fuel of our good bacteria. And by including a lot of different sorts of fiber, we just feed all of the bacteria, the beneficial bacteria, and we don't have to worry about not feeding one or the other strain properly. And yeah, so and it's also very important to have a well-balanced diet. So well-balanced means more than 50% of your plate should be filled with vegetables, and it can be also some root vegetables and whole grains, and a tiny portion should be protein, like 25 gram. We don't need a huge steak. We only actually need 4 tablespoons of meat at any one time. And we also need beneficial oils. Every cell in our body, and also every nerve cell, needs to be nourished with healthy oils. And healthy oils are coconut oil, olive oil, sesame oil, avocado oil, flaxseed and hemp seed oil, for example. But not the refined oils that you get in a plastic transparent bottle in the supermarket. That's just oil that's completely ruined and is not very good for your health. So the easiest way to get more fiber and more variety of vegetables into your diet is by eating a rainbow. Just include as many colorful vegetables as you can find in a supermarket, for example, in a stir fry, or put it in an omelette, make every meal, or turn every meal into a rainbow meal, is what I usually say. You can even make hummus more colorful by adding a beetroot or a carrot or an avocado. And just to expand on the benefits of a stir fry, I've discovered, cooking for only myself, that a stir fry has so many benefits. It's, as I said, one of the easiest ways to get more fiber and more variety into your diet. It is also very easy to combine with any source of protein apart from milk, because milk is fluid. But you can combine it with cooked lentils and beans, heat it up. You can combine it with falafel, with any sort of meat, oily fish, buckwheat noodles, you name it. It's quinoa, for example, is also a good one. It's very easy to make. It requires no cooking skills and also no wok. You can make it on autopilot. You don't need a recipe for it. You can just use any leftover food that you have in your cupboard and fridge, and you can turn it into a very tasty stir fry. It will always look and taste different if you do that, and you can adapt it to 1, 2 or more persons very easily, and it's very quick. You only need 12 minutes to make it, and I've timed this. Food swaps are also important. I mentioned that a lack of zinc, B6 and magnesium can cause poor digestion. Why? Because zinc and B6 are needed for stomach acid production, and also magnesium. And magnesium is also a very essential component of saliva, which can be a problem in elderly people. So simple food swaps that can increase your zinc intake, for example, could be eating more lentils, chickpeas and beans, but also eating more sesame, pumpkin seeds or hemp seeds. And cashews and almonds are also rich in zinc. And B vitamins, B6 is found in salmon, which is an oily fish, which would be really good to include to have with a stir fry, for example. Or chicken liver can also be combined with a stir fry. B6 is also in carrots, in spinach, sweet potatoes. That would be a good swap. Instead of eating white potatoes, eat more sweet potatoes. Also, they have more fiber than white potatoes. And again, chickpeas have got a lot of B6 in them, and bananas and avocado. So, and magnesium can be found in almonds and pumpkin seeds, but also in dark chocolate. So if you want to snack, eat more dark chocolate. And with dark chocolate, I mean, higher than 70%. And I always say, if you're not used to dark chocolate, just gradually increase the cocoa content in chocolate from 35 to maybe 45 to 55 to 65 and so on, until your taste buds have adapted to the more bitter taste. And speaking about taste buds, zinc is also very important for our sense of taste. So if you've got a lack of taste, then you may have a lack of zinc. And zinc is very important for our immune system. It stops the multiplication of a virus. So what foods would improve our digestion? So I've already mentioned some, which are very beneficial because of their nutrient content, the mineral and vitamin, but also antioxidant content. And avoid difficult to digest food. What is difficult to digest? Any heavy and dense food, like red meat is heavy, wheat is very dense and heavy, and cheese is then heavy. Combining meat with cheese makes a burger, for example, a meat and cheeseburger, a Mac burger, very difficult to digest because you need different enzymes to digest these two sources of protein, the meat and the cheese. Cold and raw food is very difficult to digest because it first needs to be cooked in the stomach before it can be broken down. So that can cause gas and bloating, for example. And combining fruit with other food, especially dairy. Yogurt and fruit doesn't combine well. It can cause all sorts of digestive issues because fruit is digested very easily and quickly and before the dairy, and that can cause upsets. So just be mindful of this. And spice things up, so that can improve your digestion by, for example, adding ginger to every meal you eat, fresh ginger. So every meal I cook is always full of ginger. And I also have fresh ginger tea every day. I make a flask full of it in the morning, and then that helps me get through the day. Why ginger? Why is ginger so beneficial? It's beneficial for any sort of digestive issues, but it helps especially well with low appetite. So if you have no appetite, just have a cup of ginger tea, and then your appetite may come back at lunch or dinner time. It helps also with nausea, with acid reflux, with gas and bloating, constipation, diarrhea, you name it. It's also anti-inflammatory, and a lot of diseases have an inflammatory origin, and it has pain-killing properties, also not unimportant. And it balances blood sugar levels, and cinnamon does the same. So adding cinnamon to for example, your porridge in the morning can be really good, but adding ginger to porridge makes your porridge more tasty as well. And fennel seeds are also a very good digestive herb to improve digestion. If you ever have the feeling that your food is sitting like a heavy brick in your stomach, just take a handful of fennel seeds, put it in your mouth and chew it properly, and then swallow it. And you will immediately, within a minute, feel your food go down. So fennel seeds have the property of relaxing our muscles. And also if you have any difficulty swallowing, fennel seeds, chewing fennel seeds can help with that as well. And add more spices and herbs in general to every meal. Fennel seeds can be one of the basic herbs you use for your stir fry, for example, but also for stews, for curries, for soups, whatever you cook, or a risotto, for example. Cumin seeds are very beneficial. Fenugreek seeds can be good. Mustard seeds, as I mentioned before, fresh ginger, garlic, onion. But as you can see later, can also be a bit tricky for some people with acid reflux, for example, to use garlic and onion. And nigella seeds can also be a good digestive spice to add. And usually the seeds are best roasted in some oil before you add the onion, the garlic and the ginger and any other ingredients to your meals, because it brings out the flavors. So it will make your kitchen smell really nice, but it also brings out the beneficial properties in the seeds. And you can improve your digestion by having a slice of ginger pickle half an hour before a main meal. How do you make a ginger pickle? Well, you just slice fresh ginger, and then you put the slices in a jar. You pour the juice of one whole lime on top of the ginger slices, and you add a little bit of rock salt, and then you shake it and put it in the fridge, and you just take a slice out half an hour before a meal and you chew it, and this will rev up your digestive system and make your digestion so much better. So another thing we need to be aware of is when we increase our fiber intake. So I'm promoting eating more vegetables, as you can hear, but we also need to up our fluid intake. And I know that a lot of you will probably have difficulty with drinking enough. So really be aware that this is very important to keep drinking. The best thing is, as I mentioned, to make yourself a flask of some herbal tea, whatever it is. For me, it's ginger tea. I love ginger tea. Make it in the morning and have it with you the whole day round, wherever you go. Have and fill this flask up again when it's finished. You know, it's only a 500 milliliter flask. So 2 of these flasks would be the minimum you need to drink every day. And just sip instead of snacking. I found that I actually don't snack, and I think what helps me resist snacking is actually having my ginger tea at hand wherever I go, and just being able to sip on my ginger tea all the time. So that satisfies my need for something. Why do we need to hydrate as well? Not just because we're upping our fiber intake, but also because in order for the body to be able to produce adequate amounts of stomach acid, digestive enzymes and bile, it needs a lot of fluids. It can't make enough stomach acid if we are dehydrated. So make sure that you hydrate well. And one good way is to start the morning with a morning drink with some warm water and add the juice of half a lime to it and some raw honey. And why raw honey? Because raw honey has got lots and lots of beneficial properties, and once it's been adulterated and with some sugar, it loses its benefits. So I usually buy organic honey because I know that they're not allowed to adulterate it with sugar. But you can also go to a local beekeeper and ask, whether they just take the honey from the beehive and put it straight in a jar. That would also be raw honey. And raw honey is very rich in iron. That's one of the beneficial properties. And lemon is very rich in vitamin C, and vitamin C helps the absorption of iron, which helps which is a very, very important mineral for the thyroid, which is here a very important gland that regulates our metabolism. And when it doesn't function well, we get weight issues, we get low energy, anxiety, depression, blood sugar imbalances, you name it. A lot of disorders and conditions are linked to poor thyroid function. Drink warm fluids mainly, and I've already mentioned the reason why, because of the blood constriction. Otherwise, especially before a meal, we want lots and lots of blood in the stomach. Avoid drinking during meal times because we don't want to dilute the stomach acid. It needs to really be a steady and stable fire in our stomach that breaks down the food. And also avoid drinking 30 minutes after a meal unless you're really thirsty. But we just want this acid to be as concentrated as possible to break down the food properly. And avoid fizzy drinks and drinks with sugar or artificial sweeteners. Fizzy drinks are not a good idea when you already have gas and bloating, and sugary drinks and artificial sweeteners upset the balance between the good and the bad guys in the gut, and we don't want to feed the bad guys with sugary stuff. So always be aware of that. Any signs that you are dehydrated? Well, you can first of all check your urine. The darker it is, the more you need to drink. And other warning signs that you are lacking in fluids can be headaches and lightheadedness, bad breath and a dry mouth or a dry tongue, dry lips, constipation and other digestive issues, even diarrhea. After not going to the loo for 2 days, you may get diarrhea because the body may just want to get rid of all the toxins and waste. So diarrhea can actually be a sign of constipation. Low energy can be a warning sign. Magnesium is needed and is one of the important electrolytes, and when you're dehydrated, you're also lacking electrolytes. Joint and muscle pain, again, that's also linked to magnesium. Accelerated heartbeat, again, linked to magnesium. Magnesium is a very important mineral for heart health, by the way, and for good kidney health. Yeah, don't forget to move enough. Moving, it doesn't have to be exercising, it just can be, you know, like deep breathing also moves the lymphatic system and moves toxins and waste through the lymphatic system and eliminates them and gets them out of the body. But movement is another way in which we can make our lymphatic system work, which is our waste disposal system, which needs to be clear for our immune system to work properly and not clogged up with undigested protein or fat, for example. So movement also reduces stress, and which improves our digestive function. It reduces inflammation. So if you have any inflammatory bowel diseases, colitis, for example, or Crohn's, movement is important. It speeds up our metabolism, so it improves thyroid function, reduces constipation, and yeah, I already mentioned that it helps us get rid of toxins. So movement can be anything. It can be gardening, it can be just walking up the stairs, it can be yoga, of course, but it can be just chair exercises, the ones that we offer in regular intervals, and just walking. Just try to increase your movement throughout the day, and try also to spend 15 minutes at least every day outside, because that activates serotonin and dopamine in the brain. Although serotonin is produced in the gut, it's released by sunlight in the brain. So, and the word on acid reflux and GERD, so any form of indigestion. So contrary to what people think. Acid reflux and GERD are not caused mainly, or in most cases, by high stomach acid levels, but actually, to the contrary, they're caused by low stomach acid levels. What happens when our stomach acid levels are not at the right level when we need to digest our food is that our food sits in the stomach longer than it usually needs when the stomach acid levels are at the right level. And this stagnating food in the stomach can, especially when you have eaten a large portion, can press upwards against the sphincter that closes the esophagus off from the stomach, and that can open up the sphincter, and then acid can go up into the esophagus and cause acid reflux. That's one reason why we can have acid reflux. So low stomach acid levels, symptoms that can make you aware that you may have low stomach acid levels can be bloating or any digestive issues, really, belching, a lot of gas, indigestion of all kinds, diarrhea, constipation, chronic fatigue, and so on, heartburn, hair loss in women, candida, or what's called small bacterial overgrowth in the small intestine, and all sorts of nail issues, allergies, food sensitivities, and even skin issues. And some major causes of low stomach acid is age. So as we age, our stomach acid levels naturally decrease. So we have to make more effort to make sure that our stomach acid levels are adequate. So reduce stress, constant worry, anxiety, and so on, which is another major cause of low stomach acid. Irregular eating habits make it very difficult for our body to know when to make adequate levels of these digestive juices. So it's not helpful. Poor diet, as I said, like lots of heavy, dense, difficult to digest food can sit in the stomach too long and cause low stomach acid. Nutrient deficiencies like zinc and B6 and magnesium, dehydration because we need a lot of fluids to make enough of these digestive juices, and general dryness can cause low stomach acid levels. H. pylori can decrease stomach acid production, and certain medication can interfere with stomach acid production as well. So this is a picture of the stomach, and on the top you can see the esophagus, and in the middle, between the stomach and the esophagus, there is this line, and that's where the lower esophageal sphincter is situated. That should keep reflux at bay. But sometimes some trigger foods can relax this sphincter, like alcohol and caffeinated drinks, for example, or chocolate and peppermint, which is also found in chewing gum. Spicy food and acidic food can irritate the stomach and can cause acid reflux. Raw garlic and onion can also be trigger foods. So just be aware when you're eating garlic and onion, you get acid reflux, that it may be due to you eating garlic and onion. Just check against this list of foods when you have, or if you have, acid reflux problems. And fatty and fried foods just sits in the stomach too long and can cause stomach acid problems and acid reflux. So recommended dietary changes is losing weight, because that can also relieve the pressure on the sphincter. Avoid overeating and snacking a lot, again for the same reason. Avoid eating late at night, again, because it causes pressure. Avoid difficult to digest and common trigger foods. Eat healthy fats, because every cell in our body, as I mentioned before, needs to be nourished with healthy fats, and also the cells that line actually build this the sphincter, and so if we are eating the wrong fats, it can make the sphincter weak, and if we eat healthy fats, that can actually make the membranes, the cell membranes, stronger and more fluid, and that can strengthen the barrier between the stomach and the esophagus. Use of PPIs in order to decrease stomach acid levels is, as you can see, not a really good idea if the cause is actually already too low stomach acid levels. So just check with your GP whether you really need to be on PPIs. There are certain conditions when it's recommended, but long-term use of PPIs has been linked to adverse effects, such as nutrient deficiencies, especially B12, calcium, magnesium, and iron. It has also been linked to increased risk of bone fractures and osteoporosis because of the lack of calcium. Malabsorption of protein is a big factor, risk factor in taking long-term PPIs. So we need stomach acid to actually be able to digest proteins well, and PPIs stop the production of stomach acid. And increased risk of infections, because stomach acid has also got the function of killing foreign invaders, like bacteria that can cause food poisoning, or viruses that can cause pneumonia. So as I said, check with your GP whether PPIs are necessary, and whether the dosage can be reduced. That can also make a difference, but never stop PPIs on your own accord without checking with your GP, and also not abruptly, because that can cause acid rebound and make the acid reflux even worse. And I usually use aloe vera when I help clients taper off their PPIs in conjunction with their GPs, of course, because aloe vera is a natural substance that helps regulate stomach acid levels. When stomach acid levels are too high, it lowers them, and when they are too low, it increases them. And it also is very good for regulating cholesterol levels in the body, improves bowel regularity, reduces inflammation in the GI tract, and it stimulates bile flow, which is also good for digesting fats really well. So, as always, the first step can just be raising your awareness, becoming aware of what's going on in your body. We don't tend to make changes unless we have a good reason for them. So small steps can really go a long way. And here's my 3 simple self-care tips to give you some idea of where you could get started with making some changes to your diet and lifestyle. Just breathe more deeply into your belly before and after a meal. Can improve your digestion, as I said, by 25%. Add a rainbow of colors to all your meals, increasing your fiber, but don't forget that you need to up your fluid intake. And the best way to prevent dehydration is to just sip from a flask filled with some nice herbal tea or warm water throughout the day. And if you would like to have more information or some support from us, or just stay in touch, here's some ways in which you can connect with us if you would like. to stay in touch. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back with some other workshop or webinar soon. Bye for now.